Hello, this is Fi checking out Project SoS. This is a game I've not played before. We're going to give it a playtest and see if it can give some useful feedback. Um, I have some residual effects from being sick, so probably going to sound a little funny and things to do with that, but nevertheless, we're going to give this a shot. I'm going to go ahead and drop that overlay and jump right into this. So I've not seen anything past the screen. I do have an Xbox 360 controller. Um, Looks like it's working. The start button works. All right, we got move and interact and attack. For more information, we got a website. Press interact button to continue. All right. Okay, so I guess we're playing. Oh, looked like I was dropping a lot of frames there for the first few moments there, but now it looks smooth, so that was interesting. Oh, okay. So immediately noticing some things. First of all, it's got a fixed perspective, which kind of is. I mean, so far there's a fixed perspective, which kind of, resembles some of these games like Resident Evil and such. But the controls are not tank controls, as you can see. I can run in any direction. I did notice that my character did suddenly change directions there. So what that's telling me is that we don't have a appropriate dead zone set on the left thumbstick. As far as I know, the right thumbstick isn't being used, but you want to set that to something a little bit higher so you don't get those effects. So like when you let go of the stick, the character might just suddenly jerk in the other direction, that kind of thing. Or sometimes that you might get a little bit of a, um, I guess you might call it a stick drift or whatever, where it's supposed to be neutral but you're still moving, that kind of thing. So I can definitely feel that. Might try a value like 0 0.3, 0.4 for the dead zone. All right, so that apparently is a door. It doesn't open from this side. There's our attack button. Oh, that's not only very slow, but there's like a really long time after you do it before you can do it again, which is kind of weird. Like this is as fast as I can attack, apparently. That's an interesting choice. Um, hmm. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that's all about. I mean, it's one thing to just have like a really slow attack, but then to like have that big gap of time afterwards seems sort of. It's hard to imagine why that would be necessary. Okay. So we've got this effect. So um, the camera view changes. Like you kind of keep running in the same direction, even though it might be slightly different from where you were pressing the thumbstick, which I think is the right way to do that. So I'm getting this. Looks like a really low frame rate again. I don't know. Might want to. I don't know if there's a pop. Oh, okay. Looks like we've got got a pause menu, but I can't interact with it with the gamepad. I don't know if the mouse works here. Or this is just placeholder perhaps. I guess it's just placeholder for now. But yeah, it might be nice to have like an FPS counter being drawn somewhere. Another thing that occurs to me actually is that I believe, yeah, so this is in borderless window mode, which means that it's not in. I like to play games in exclusive full screen whenever possible. You get more frame stability, and you can do things such as turn off VSync and everything. Now, what exactly, when I press the thumbstick, when I try and press it straight up, I feel like I'm kind of going a little bit diagonal, like this is straight up and down. I don't entirely understand how the game is mapping this relative to what I'm seeing. Does that make sense? It feels like it's just rotated a little bit off. Okay, so we are no longer in a fixed perspective. I don't know what I can interact with. Not much to see. It's mostly lost in fog here. A little hard on the eyes, to be honest. And my monitor doesn't have the best contrast in like the white-ish range, so it all kind of looks like a smear, especially like when it's in motion and everything. Excuse me. So yeah, I don't know how far along this game is or anything. You really have no indication of that kind of thing. It does, apart from the fact that I've just been screwing around a little bit here and there, I do get the effect that I haven't like found anything to interact with. You can see that frame rate's kind of tanking here for some reason. I wonder why that happens. Um, yeah, it feels like it's like 15 FPS or something. Just a little weird. I mean, there's not really much being rendered, so. But yeah, so I haven't found anything to interact with in the game thus far, so I think it would be a good goal to give the player something to interact with sooner so that they can start actually playing the game. If you want to have them, just explore, run around, that kind of thing. Okay, that was a long hitch. I thought something was going to happen, like it was like a battle was going to start or something. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, nothing wrong with having exploration and such. But might be better to have some way of like actually incorporating gameplay first, and then like after the player has had a taste of that kind of thing, maybe you kind of go into a section where okay, you can just run around and explore if you want to or whatever, or find the next place you're supposed to go so that there's more gameplay, that kind of thing. As of right now, I guess I maybe should go this way. But yeah, haven't found much of anything yet. Okay. So even here, there's not, at least for now, nothing happens from me going over here. I'm just, it occurs to me a bit late how kind of unusual it is to have a tree be covered in caution tape. But yeah, I kind of expected, some kind of text or something to show up. I'm pressing the interact button, not really getting anything, so I guess we just walk back out again. So you see the camera doing something here, so it's like kind of tipping you off to there should be something of interest here, but can't seem to get anything to happen there. I guess we'll just try to go. Oh, okay, that was weird. So again, that was down to the dead zone. So I think I've been around here. I do wish I could move the camera manually. So I'm like wanting to press the right stick and move that around when you get. Just wanting to navigate the environment. It's a bit annoying if you have to like physically kind of run your person like 10 meters in one direction just to get the camera to look where you want to see, so it's just nicer to have a camera control, manual control for the camera there. As far as I can tell, nothing to interact with here either. There's another little alleyway. Oh, okay, that's trippy. This is kind of, again, I want to move the camera. Yeah, this is kind of a weird camera angle. Oh, we got a little bit of a All right, so on the right side of my screen, it's kind of clipping. The camera's clipping through the wall there a little. And this is also something that can depend on your aspect ratio, possibly. Like if you have a maybe if you had like an extra wide monitor, it might clip more severely or something. Just guessing. This is a little bit disorienting, in my opinion. This going from this angle to here, it's like not the worst thing, especially when you go back and forth like 3 or 4 times like I did. But the first time I did that, I noticed it was a little bit weird. Like, oh, which way did I just pop out of? And so yeah, I'm just kind of, again, I'm just seeing more of the same props that I've already seen. Not really sure. Oh, that looks like something creepy. And we've got thing on the floor, picked up the gate key. Okay, I have no idea what this person's face is here. But I guess I got a key. And yeah, I kind of expect in, maybe it's content playing for the future or something, but I kind of expect in a game like this, especially if you just see something weird, that you'd at the very least be able to like walk up to it and press interact or something and just have the game tell you something about what you're looking at, you know? Something like that. So this transition kind of go from basically pushing to the left to like having to go straight down. I don't know. I've never tried to play this. I'm sorry, I've never tried to make this kind of game where you have these different camera positions and fixed positions that kind of jumps around and stuff. So I'm not sure if there are kind of best practices figured out, but I know that it inherently kind of works well with the tank controls because you don't really have the issue of the direction you're pressing on the thumbstick becoming discontinuous when you transition to a different camera angle like that and that kind of thing. But I wonder if you might want to at least try to make sure that like you're not just suddenly running in like the opposite direction from what you're pressing the stick towards, like maybe you want to just have it at least seem close to the same direction or something. I don't know. But yeah, at this point, I guess I got a gate key. I don't know where the key would go. I'm just, I'm pretty lost here. One thing I will mention, if you're going to have a big sprawling environment like this, which is also kind of obfuscated by a lot of fog, so you can't really see in the distance and stuff very well, can be helpful to have some more landmarks. So we kind of have landmarks, but they're all kind of constructed of the same assets right now. So maybe not as effective, but can help a little bit with orientation if you see like, oh, well, that thing I recognize, and that kind of helps you, orient yourself. But also I think just simply being able to see a little bit further might help a bit. I don't know what I'm looking for, and I don't know like where I am relative to anything. So that's kind of my experience so far. I don't remember ever seeing something that looked locked. And there's also the fact that it seems like most of the places to actually go from this big open area are like little alleyways like this, which kind of like naturally hide themselves. So like if I'm coming from this direction, that's completely invisible, like from a lot of angles, this alleyway is just not visible. So that might be something to consider. Oh, no, yes, oh, okay, that looks like a gate. Oh, he did a different, is that a bug? I think this this animation is bugged out. Oh, there it goes, okay. Oh, okay. We got through a gate. All right, so this is since I started playing, the only interactions I've done in the past however many minutes it's been uh, is that I picked up a key and I went through a gate. So those are the only two ways I've interacted with the game thus far. That was very okay. This is very disorienting. Okay, so there's some camera jumping back and forth right here. Also, the way that these it's very disoriented. The way that these sign things are just kind of scattered around randomly doesn't help you to orient yourself. It almost seems like this was designed to be disorienting intentionally. Um, so yeah, it's maybe not a good idea to have this kind of random scatter of these sign things for that reason alone, just because you have this kind of jarring transition with the camera as it is, and then like you don't really get the sense of like so if you can imagine if this is like a simpler layout, like most of these things weren't here and there were just like a few things. If you have something that's really distinctive, like um, you pretend that this was like a desk or something that just looked like you've never seen that desk before, right? And it just kind of is kind of a prominent feature in a room or something like that. Like if you see that, if you come in here and you look around and it's like, okay, I'm in a room or whatever, and there's like this big fancy desk that's over on the far wall, and then the camera suddenly does this jump. If I can still see, okay, that desk is over there now, then it kind of, triggers that um, in my mind to be able to orient myself, like how the camera just changed because I had this very distinctive element that was in one position, now it's in a different one. So if you have like less things and just have more distinctive things, that'll help, I think. So looks like I can go through here. Oh, it won't let me go back. That's kind of annoying. I hope there's like a purpose for that. It did seem like, wow, it did seem like there was this far corner over here, I think, that I didn't really look over there. I mean, I guess I haven't found a lot of things thus far anyways, so maybe there wasn't anything over there, but looks like oh, that is not a normal person sound. Oh, that audio is very weird. Oh gosh, the animation's bugged again. Okay, so this feels like, oh my gosh, it feels really, I guess you gotta, whoa, that camera is not helping there and just spinning around like that. I guess you gotta run up to basically point of contact before using that. But my gosh, his attack is so slow. So that does not seem challenging at all. Okay. So I can't examine whatever this being is. Oh, disappeared. Okay, is that a... Okay. That is very... I mean, I could kind of see it right away, but I have to say it really blends in a lot. It does not stand out. Picked up the crowbar. Um, yeah, in this environment, it just being very small and non-distinct looking little bar on the ground. You might, if you're so inclined, you could do something like the Resident Evil thing where the items have like a flash effect that catches your eye, You could do stuff like that, just give us some kind of a visual effect that pops. That'll kind of save you from having to, really focus on a visual design and stuff to make sure that everything is very clearly visible. You can just kind of get away with more with that kind of thing. So I got a crowbar, which presumably is going to be used to progress further. I don't believe there's like a way to equip different things. as of yet. But I also don't know what to use a crowbar on that I've seen already. I feel like maybe I should look in the middle of this area a little more, maybe. I don't see anything interesting. Oh. Okay, use the crowbar. Okay. So I got kind of lucky with deciding to do this. Doesn't look like there's a way back up. If I jump, there's no going back. Yes. All right, and a demo. Okay, so pretty interesting. I think to wrap up, I guess I would say, yeah, I think I would just suggest to, from a level design perspective, try to kind of cram a few more interactions like right at the beginning. Like, of course, you want the player to first, they kind of get used to the controls, they just walk around or whatever, maybe examine some things. But then I think it'd be a good idea to just have some things that they can interact with, right at the start there, and then once you do that, then you can kind of let the game open up a little bit more. I don't know about just having this giant sprawl where it's sort of like the game didn't really give me any sense of direction, like where I should go next, that kind of thing, So the problem with that, of course, being that I could end up just wandering around for like a long time and just never getting anywhere because I was just going like everywhere I'm not supposed to go yet, instead of like the one place that I am supposed to go. So it just ends up being kind of a waste of time, So I think it's a good idea to have some way of sort of funneling the player towards the next objective or whatever, whether that is more along the lines of kind of telling them where to go, or if it's just the way that the levels are designed, where there's just not such an open ended area to go and that kind of thing. There's all different ways to approach that, but yeah, I do feel like the big area in the middle is kind of maybe a little bit too big and spread out. Like it didn't seem to accomplish a lot, like a lot of kind of empty space out there. And like I said, along with like the fog and kind of the limited view distance, I think that that kind of is more of a detriment to, I guess, lending towards what I said before about how easy it is to just kind of wander around not sure where to go. Like if you can't see that far, that's going to just kind of make it that much more likely that the player's just going to wander around aimlessly, right? Whereas if they can kind of see more of what's in front of them, then they might say, oh, well, there's something over there that looks interesting. I should go look at that. That's not really happening here so much. So I think you could probably maybe just tighten up some of the level design kind of spatially so that the player is more likely to just kind of run into things that are either important or interesting. Like even if it's stuff that they can't do anything with yet, at least they're not just like wasting 5 minutes to get to it and then just like having to turn around and like run 5 minutes in a different direction, that kind of thing. Like if they just briefly go over here and it's like, oh, there's something weird and I can't do anything with that yet, but it's kind of interesting. And then they just kind of turn around and then they just they didn't waste all this time doing that. Then I think that you just end up with a tighter experience overall. So I think you could do a lot with that kind of thing. Just you know, once you get more assets and stuff in here, you can get more landmarks, which, like I mentioned, would help with your orientation in general. And then I think just kind of tightening up the level area, everything spatially would probably help a lot to kind of make things a little bit more concentrated. And hopefully working out some element of directionality. I mean, just making everything a little bit close together would certainly help. Even if the player just had to wander randomly before they find the next thing, it wouldn't be as painful, right? But you know, different things you can aim for. But yeah, I guess broadly, that's the most I can do for you in terms of feedback. Not a lot of gameplay here as of yet. The combat itself was sort of, you know, it was fine. I didn't dislike it or anything, but it was just very easy, and it's really hard, I think. See, on the one hand, it makes a lot of sense to have what appears to be a survival, like this feels like a survival horror game, right? So uh, it makes sense to have combat that's sort of not very quick and fluid in a game like this, where it kind of feels like you're really limited. Um, but that being said, if you do have like these really slow, deliberate attacks, it's pretty hard to make combat work with that in a way that is either not way too easy or like feels borderline or beyond borderline unfair, right? So it's usually like one or the other. And it's just sort of a weird way that this kind of thing works where you kind of, it's sort of like a threshold. So it's like anything up to the threshold is like, it's always going to feel too easy. But then once you go over it, then suddenly it's like, um, you know, it's extremely tight timings or whatever that can be really hard to make work. But, you know, it's not impossible. It's just one of those things where it's just, it's harder to do combat that's quote unquote good if you have these very slow, very deliberate attacks and stuff. But you know, that's something to explore in the future. I don't know how you're going to do that, but it'll be interesting to see. But presumably, it's not a combat-focused game, so I'm sure there's plenty of room to have other types of gameplay and just interesting content being delivered here. But hopefully, this is useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.